How did you get involved in this? What got you and when?
Well, that's, I grew up in New Orleans. I came of age. I'll be telling my age, but everybody knows it's on the website. Right around.
You just turned 30, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, again.
Me too.
Yeah, I'm 48 years old. I'm very proud of my age. I wanted to be a doctor. I was very, very good in school, very good in math, very good in science. First, kid to graduate college, and what is your mom wants you to be? My daughter will be a doctor. And it was right around the time of Love Canal, which was sort of our country's first exposure to what happens when you take a whole bunch of hazardous waste and throw it in the ground and really don't manage it in any way. And I became interested in engineering because there were programs to attract African Americans into engineering, and I was the perfect candidate with my, my math background. And it just occurred to me in college. I went to Tulane University. Sorry, roll green wave. And I remember thinking, if an engineer can design the processes that make all this goop, an engineer will be the person who figures out how to get it cleaned up, how to restore environments. And what South Carolina was really about was environmental justice, this idea that these children also have to be taught that we value the air quality in their neighborhoods, that they're entitled to the same quality of air that we would all want in our neighborhoods. And too often, because of other considerations, it's almost as though innately, from a very early age, they're taught that they have to choose between, a job or money and the environment. And absolutely, that's a false truth.
We have just a few minutes before you have to leave us. You think the environmental movement has been too, we have 40 years of Earth Day now, too shrill, too fear-mongery, which is what a lot of people, including some environmentalists, have said, that they need to change the tone?
I do think that we've seen a change in tone. If you look at the whole green energy movement, it is a bit more about sustainability. Let me say this about the environmental movement, because I think it bears thinking about. This is a movement that time and time again has had the rush of David versus Goliath, of having to take on some pretty impossible looking battles. Massachusetts versus EPA, the Supreme Court case is one of them. I was amazed when I saw that decision come down. So I think environmentalists have become very good at using the laws of the land, which are broad and beautiful and far-reaching, to get results that sometimes defy gravity. And so, yes, have they along the way become shrill? Yes, but they've also learned to use the court systems in a very effective way, and I think that's quite an accomplishment.
Question from Mark Starek. He's the head of the Institute for Sustainability, Research, Education, and Policy here at JW. It's a new entity that's going to really try to bring some things together. Here's his question for you. Many observers of climate and related sustainability issues have advocated a Green Marshall Plan to help spur our economy, address sustainability issues. How can energy efficiency, renewable energy, other environmental entrepreneurs or ecopreneurs be encouraged through public policy to play a significantly expanded role in helping to implement such a green economic plan?
I would argue, in response, that this president, this administration has gone an awful long way down the road of using public investments. The Recovery Act was said to be the largest green energy investment in this country's history. Literally, over almost $100 billion in investment. The truth of the matter is we live in a capitalist society that the next step has to be that engine, the private sector engine, gets fully involved in getting this done. When there's money to be made, and every study from McKinsey on shows that investments in energy efficiency pay off. They're essentially many times, negative investments. You need some money up front. When that happens, we will do it. And I really believe that's the president's fundamental point, is that he's going to do everything he can to keep putting public money out there and educating people and turning out young people who can do this work. But we need to have our market revolve around making clean energy a profitable.
Last point before I let you go, before we lose you here, and that is your focus on toxic chemicals. This is going to be a big focus of yours, as I understand it, and talking to some of your advisors, they say this is an emerging priority. What are we going to see? What are you trying to do?
Well, this is, besides climate and energy, we are working on a bunch of priorities. You talked about expanding the conversation. Toxic chemicals. Many parents and folks are waking up to the realization that there are more and more chemicals, not only in our environment, but showing up in our bodies. I think there was a recent study, hundreds of chemicals have been detected, not all at one time, in cord blood. This idea of pre-pollution, this idea that, you know...
I mean, there are thousands of chemicals out there, and how many of them have been regulated?
80,000 chemicals in commerce, and we've taken regulatory action on, you know, basically a half dozen.
A half
and
dozen?
Probably the poster child for action is most people in this country think we've banned asbestos. We have not. And the reason we haven't is that the laws that would allow us to ban it really set such a high bar that we can't prevail in court. We've tried. And so
but is asbestos still being built into structures, even though it's not banned?
It's not used in the same ways, but it is still used in commerce in this country.
And you think it should be just banned flat out?
I think that it is one of the chemicals that most Americans would believe there are adequate substitutes for almost every use. And I think that, you know, before we can move any further, I think Americans have the right to expect that there are real controls before chemicals end up in our bodies. We shouldn't be I was going to say lab rats, but that's not it. But we shouldn't be the test subjects to see what will happen. We all know how hard it is to clean something up and how much easier it is to prevent it. And I think that there will be real momentum, again, I hope bipartisan, behind the idea that in this day and age, in the year 2010, we have the right to expect more control on chemicals, and that companies that want to import these chemicals or produce them do all the testing and get that data out and make it available publicly so that not just EPA can look at it, but all these wonderful students here can have a look at it in the future and ensure themselves that it's state of the art.
Last word to all these wonderful students, to those who want to follow in your footsteps and go into the environmental movement, go into sustainability, what should they do?
Listen, I think you first have to figure out where your passion is and what you're good at. This movement is fairly broad, right? I always, when I recruit for EPA, I say we hire everything from engineers to accountants to lawyers to biologists, you name it, to economists. All of those things are going to be very important for us to transform our society to be more sustainable, to think of the environment and the economy as moving together forward is going to take some transformative thinking. I actually believe most of you have come up in a time where you've had that kind of thinking. You don't believe you have to choose. And I think that's going to be the big transformation that happens. So keep up the good work, hold us accountable, and we'll keep doing our job.
Well, I hope you will come back when we have some more time and we can look at some more videos.
Always too short. I know, these videos are cool. It was good, very, very good.
So for those of you, and I would invite you as well, go on to Planet Forward. You can become a member and you can actually engage with the community and talk to them directly.
This is a great program. Thanks,
well,
Frank.
appreciate it. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.